This season, we're taking a home that was outdated and barely functional and turning it into our client's dream home. And as expected, as always, we encountered a few problems along the way, like termites and bad frame and even some foundation problems, but we got them fixed and we're still on track to finish this project on time. Now this week, we'll be installing flooring, we'll get the appliances put in, we'll completely transform this old outdated fireplace, and we'll extend the breakfast nook into the patio with a beautiful slider that'll add beautiful decorative lighting as well. All today on Texas Home Improvement.
Smile. You woke up in Texas, one of the fastest growing states in the country. Meet Jim Dutton.
Tools make the job. It ain't a good day till we tear something up.
Contractor and syndicated radio show host.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Along with the Texas Home Improvement team.
Oh, look how beautiful it is.
Here to show you how to get the job done right and protect you from out-of-state bootleg contractors.
And that's what you get when you hire a bootleg contractor.
This is Texas Home Improvement.
Now that the floors are in, it's time to bring in the appliances. Now, if you remember back, we made a really big deal of the specs on the appliances because they're not all the same size. Well, the demo work is done, the cabinets are in. This is where push comes to shove. It's gotta work. Now, a slight mismeasurement, we're screwed. All right, we went and got all our measurements from the appliances, had the cabinet people build the cabinets and everything. Today's when we find out if the rubber meets the road, because we're putting in appliances. This is where we find out how good our craftsmanship was. All right, the oven's about to get installed. First, I got to prep the wire. They'll hook up the electricity to it and then tip it into place. Because once you got it in, it's too late to go back and check the wiring. You got to make sure it's done right the first time. You know, one of the nice things about this dishwasher, it's insulated so well, you don't even hear it running. So to make sure that you understand it is on, it actually projects the time down on the ground. So every time you walk by, you know what time it is and how long the dishwasher is going to be running. You know, so far, the appliances are fitting like a glove, but I'll say this, I still have some doubts when it comes to the casing around the refrigerator. That's going to be the critical one. You know, things are really coming together, and it's time to get the last bit of that 80s out of this house, the fireplace. Now rather than busting out all the brick, we're gonna use a stacked stone that's man-made. It's gorgeous, and it's really gonna go well with the walls, the beams, the floors, everything to really set this house off. All right, so they got the concrete in, and as always happens with new concrete, somebody didn't watch your animals. We actually had the household cat walk across the concrete, which also attracts other places as well. But it's now ready where we can go ahead and get the hearth in, get the stone on the fireplace, and have a gorgeous fireplace in the house. All right, so we got our new hearth in place. Floors butted up against the old brick. The new stone that we're gonna put on will actually come out onto the new floor, so we'll give it a nice finished look. And then you can see the hearth is lowered than the firebox. It modernized the house a little bit. A lot of new houses, they don't bring the firebox all the way down to the hearth anymore. I'm not sure why. Personally, I like to be able to scoop the ashes into the firebox, but this is the way they like to do them nowadays. All right, so one of the things that really makes it nice using these pieces are these corners. You know, a lot of times if you gotta go in and take real stone and put a corner together, it's just a real pain. Well, with these, whether you've got a short corner or a long corner, you've got what you need, because this can be cut. Even a really deep corner around a outside of a house or something can be cut to fit. And one of the things that you gotta remember when you're installing this stuff is you gotta fit the pieces together tightly. Now this is a man-made cast material, so there's gonna be little burrs on edges and stuff that sometimes you have to take off in order to get the joints nice and tight. But like most things, the installation process makes all the difference. So my youngest son is getting married next week, and thanks to this crazy situation that we're in, we only have 1 week to turn this backyard into a place that we can hold the reception. All right, so this backyard makeover began with one simple problem. There was an old stump here. We took the stump out, had this big hole, and said, that would make a great fire pit. So we start looking at doing a backyard makeover. Next thing you know, somebody's getting married. We're gonna hold a reception here. Now we gotta expand it even further. So fire pit, new retaining wall, new flower beds, new deck. Also somebody can get married. So the first thing we did was move the hot tub to the other side of the backyard. And in order to do that, I had Berkey's Electrical come out, dig a trench, and run the electrical wiring and conduit to the other side of the house. All right, so in order to make the fire pit, you gotta have something to put the fire in. I'm gonna use this corrugated steel in order to be the ring of the fire, but this is much longer than we need, so we're gonna cut it in half and somebody else will get a fire pit out of this one. All right, part of what we're going to be doing is taking this old brick retaining wall out. And this thing is just really dated, really bad shape. So it's going to go away. We're going to get some new blocks that are cut stone type blocks. They really look nice. It's a stackable wall that's easy to install. But the first thing, you got to get this out of here. All right, so this is where we're going to be putting in the new retaining wall. It's only going to be a little 2-foot retaining wall. And on the base of the blocks, you typically either use a crushed limestone, or I like to use just bags of concrete. We can pack them in, gives me a good solid base. Been doing it this way for years. It works great. So all we're doing is going to smooth this out. Then we'll use a vibrating plate to pack it down nice and tight. I don't put water in it. I simply let nature absorb into it, and it'll set up like concrete. And we're going to do the same on the post on the deck. We won't mix water in with the concrete. We'll pack it in around the post, and it'll set up all by itself. All right, we got our fire pit built out here. The concrete around the perimeter here has a beam that goes down into the ground to make it rigid, and around the pit itself. That way, should somebody ever decide they want to put a top of some kind on this, you can. Obviously, you'd have to have a big opening in the middle to let the smoke out, but I've elected not to put a top on it, but I still want my concrete nice and stiff so it doesn't go up and down. Now, when we poured this, I kept water on it all day after pouring it that morning. That slows the cure time. And by water, I mean, you just come out like every hour, sprinkle the water down on top. That slows the curing time and helps minimize shrinkage cracks. Shrinkage cracks are those hairline cracks that we're gonna get in concrete inevitably. But this helps to control so that you don't get as many of them, because it's been hot, let's face it, and concrete dries fast when it's hot. When concrete's drying, it's nothing more than the moisture evaporating out of it. And by keeping it moist, you make it last longer and makes the concrete harder.
Here's some stuff you need to know.
All right, Glenn, we talk a lot of times on the show about balancing out the ductwork on an air conditioning system to get rid of hot and cold spots. You got a damper here.
Yes,
and
sir.
this is one of the things I tell people all the time, that they need to be getting put into their ductwork in order to balance it out properly.
Yes, sir.
Show us what it is and how it works.
All right, so this is a balancing damper. Your ductwork attaches to this, and this attaches to your heating and air conditioning unit up in the attic. And what we can do is we can open and close this to adjust the amount of air that's going into that duct. So if I have a room in the house, let's say that was getting way too much air, and another room that wasn't getting enough, I can go to the one that has too much air, close this down and reduce the amount of air going to it. And then of course, the one that I have too little air going to, I can open it all the way up and try and get more air pushed that way.
Right.
So as I'm closing this one down, I'm forcing air to other areas of the home. That way I can balance the airflow out in the home.
Okay, so we've got the old deck out, we've got the concrete out. You can see we've got old posts here. And these old posts are still in good shape from a deck that was put in 15 years ago. So rather than take all these out, we just ran string lines to follow these and add new posts for the bigger deck. So basically, all you gotta do is mark it where you want it. The measurements are not gonna be all that critical. And rather than trying to do this all by hand using a post hole digger, we're gonna actually use a regular powered post hole digger. We're gonna take what would take 6 hours to do and probably cut it down to about 20 minutes. The tools make the job. The way this thing fell out, on this first one, because of the way the deck boards fell out, my backboard's coming up flush with the deck. Then my deck will go underneath and all my other boards will come up and be covered up then down below. Just makes it a little bit stronger when you're stepping up off on the edges, but didn't have really any choice on the top one here just because of the measurements, and I didn't want to reset and change things. Now, there's a lot of different ways of building steps. You can get pre-cut boards for it and stuff, but because our ground was so unlevel, I just decided to build these in place. After I've got everything built, then I'll run another board across on the bottom that is for ground contact. It'll keep it from deteriorating too fast. Now, is it gonna last forever? Nah, but it'll last long enough for me. You know, a lot of times people ask, why are you using screws instead of a nail gun? Treated lumber actually will eat up nails. Now, it's not something that's gonna happen overnight, but over a long period of time, it will deteriorate the nails and they'll actually break. Regular deck screws like this are coated so that they can go into the treated lumber and not deteriorate. I'm marking this at 11 inches. That's the width of 2 of the deck boards, which is how wide my steps are going to be, because what we're doing is building steps all the way along the side here to get up onto the deck. Rather than having rails around it, they want to be able to come down, up and down the steps. So when your wife says that's what she wants, that's what you build. You know, when you're doing stuff like the stairs, it's real easy to try to eyeball, but I'm telling you, you're gonna mess it up because optical illusion, I can tell you right now, looking at this board, to me it looks like it's skiing up, but in reality, it's not. You gotta use that level. All right, now that we've got the deck on, you got to preserve this wood. You don't want it looking bad in just a matter of months. So it's time to pull out the Ready Seal. All right, for this project, we're going to use natural cedar Ready Seal. It's a stain and sealer in one. What it's going to do is it's going to bring out that natural wood grain, but it's also going to preserve the wood with that oil that goes deep down into the wood fibers, keeping moisture from soaking into the wood later. That moisture is what destroys the look of your decks, your fences, docks, whatever outdoor wood you have. Ready Seal is the solution. All right, we worked our tails off and got it done, and I gotta admit, it looks great. We almost ran out of time, but I'm glad we were able to get the Ready Seal on because it really added to the back deck.
next week on Texas Home Improvement.
All right, this project's almost complete, so join us next week as we put the finishing touches on this so we can present the home to the homeowner. Plus, I'm gonna show you how to deal with those dreaded change orders. Contractors love them. Homeowners, you gotta stand your ground. Hey, got a question during the week? Go to our website, thipro.com, and click on the Ask Jim button. If you're looking for a great contractor, one that'll treat you fair and get the job done right, go to thipro.com and take a look at the contractors in your area that I've already checked out. Don't forget to listen to Texas Home Improvement every Saturday and Sunday right here in Houston on News Talk 740 KTRH.
So we'll end it with not the answer. So the way we're going to end it is, okay, so I think we know what we need to do.
Well, it's just like the other shows.
No.
It's
But that's a formula. You
it
can't
is a
steer away
formula.
from that.
So the first thing we did is move the hot tub to the other side of the backyard, and in order to do that, I had to bring in Berkey's Electrical. Dig a trench, run the electric wiring and conduit. Yeah, that really sucked. Time to move on to install the floors with Shelly.